but maybe you don't know a lot about the history of it. So this was an idea that started in 2011 in Cuba. A group of people were talking and they decided that it would be a great idea to have a kind of forum and a community of practice where people could get in touch with others in different parts of the globe and learn about their work and see what they were doing, but in a peer like fashion, which is not how normally these things happen. So that was the objective of the group. And so we started it formally in 2012, and here we are. Wow, has passed. Wow, next year it's going to be 10 years. We are old people. And yeah, we are still trying to do the same things, trying to get in touch with researchers that have similar interests in different parts of the globe, trying to connect with them, seeing how they do things, sometimes with more resources, sometimes with fewer resources, and sometimes we can all reach a learning collaboration with one another, which is wonderful. We this year, as one of the activities of CodeDH, the executive proposed that we should have a series of conversations, so we could like get more in touch with one another, since we cannot travel, as you all know, because of this thing. I don't know, someone said that there was a pandemic or something somewhere, and so we are trapped at home, but we can still do some things to communicate, to talk, to have a learning experience, and more like a virtual community. That's what I want to say, a virtual community. So this was a long time in the making. We have been talking about it and planning it for a long time. And James Yeku really took it upon himself to do a lot of the organization for it. But I want to thank him for this work, for all that he has done. And so this way, maybe he will continue doing it. Thank you, James. But also I want to thank all the members of the community and of the executive for their participation, for their ideas, and for their collaboration in this. As you notice, this meeting is being recorded. If you're not comfortable with your video showing, please just stop it. But the idea is, again, to make it available for more people in the future. So we need the recording for that. And I now would like to introduce Sarah Petronillo, who is currently working at the University of Leiden, the Center for Linguistics. She's a specialist in African linguistics, which is fascinating to me. I wish I was a serious person that did serious research like that. She's going to be moderating today, so I will not say much more, but thank you, Sarah, for agreeing to moderate. And I see that, of course, James, thank you. He reminds me that I should also thank Brian Rosenblum for all his work. I would name everybody, really. I should name everybody, but Brian and James have been doing quite a lot of this and made this meeting possible. So please, Sarah, take it away.
Yes, thank you, Barbara. We are introducing each other. It's like a scale of events. Okay, so we are excited today to welcome indigenous language activist Janet Chavez Santiago from Oaxaca, Mexico. Some of you know her. For those of you who don't know her, Janet is the founder of the Teotitlán del Valle Zapotec online talking dictionary. And Janet's apologies for the mispronunciation. I'm never sure about how to pronounce those words. Janet comes from a family of master weavers and Zapotec speakers. And her research falls at the intersection between indigenous language activism and digital language technology. And today we will hear about her project and her experiences, especially in particular, we will hear about the role of digital media in supporting and shaping the cultural practices of the Zapotec community. So the title of this first GoDH conversation talk is Innovate to Maintain Tradition, Weaving a Zapotec History. So please, join us in welcoming Janet to this first session. Janet, the floor is yours. If you want to share PowerPoint, or if you just want to keep your screen like that, feel free.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Brian, James, for organizing this reunion and have this conversation so we can learn from each other what's going on these days. Like, it's a safe way for me to like share a little bit of my work and my community through Zoom in the middle of a pandemic. So thank you so much for this invitation and opportunity. So yeah, I want to start with a video, short video, to start to put you in context for those that do not know me or know where I come from. Just like a little bit in general, I always, everywhere I go, I need to say that I come from a town of weavers, and I always introduce my parents. So you know why I am me and why I do the work that I'm doing, and how I'm like connecting what I do with the work of my family that has been there for generations. So it's a very short, let's see. Okay. Do you see that? Yeah, good.
Entrega a uno la vida, porque cuando nos gusta hacer un trabajo, pues no nos importa el tiempo, ¿no? Lo que nos importa es que está nuestro cariño allí, nuestra existencia allí cada día. Siempre estoy en comunicación con los hilos, los colores, el tapete, el telar. Estoy totalmente entregado al trabajo, a lo que quiero hacer con este hilo.
So those are my parents, Fe and Lola. And they've been teaching me and my brothers the work that we do, and like to take it further than traditional, than like as a lot of people say, as the ancient. We keep the ancient, but today and innovating. That's why I always like to like weave innovation, and what's weaving innovation. Like every day we're weaving something, even though you're not a weaver per se, but you're doing something always. and then always including your what we have nowadays in terms of social media, digital media. How are we reaching more information and giving more information, especially during the pandemic? How are we getting all how are we knowing the world these days? And I'm gonna share this other. So here, for those that do not know Oaxaca in Mexico, so southern Mexico, where we're like in the Pacific coast, very close to the Guatemalan border. So you can see where the US is and where how south we are. So that's Oaxaca. Oaxaca is one of the biggest states in Oaxaca in terms of municipalities. We have more than 500 towns, like district towns, and then each district town has its own towns around. Teotitlán del Valle, and as you saw in the video, like at the very beginning, like the landscape of my town, we're located in the valley. We're very close from the city. The city is also Oaxaca, the same name as the state. We're like 45 minutes, 50 minutes outside the city, and it's a total different world. Even though we're very close to the city, it really is like a very different world. We keep traditions, we speak the language, we have our beliefs. And in Teotitlán, we speak Zapotec, and for you to understand how big and how broad is the Zapotec language, we have different variants, 4 big variants divided by the Sierra Norte, Sierra Sur, the Isthmus, and the Valley. I'm from the Valley, so the variant that we speak in Teotitlán is the Valley Zapotec. But with that, it's we have like sub-variants, like the variant that we speak in Teotitlán is the Teotitlán del Valle Zapotec, which is gonna be different from the Zapotec from the other towns from the valley, from Tlacochahuaya, from Macuilxochitl, from Tlacolula. They vary. We can still understand each other in the valley, but still it's very different. We cannot understand each other with people in the Sierra Sur, in the Sierra Norte, or the Isthmus, unless we know like clue words, so we can like recreate or understand a conversation with those variants. But also in comparison with the Romance languages, for example, we've been comparing a little bit, like just imagine Spanish, Portuguese, French, Italian. That's how our Zapotec variants are, like just like that. So very similar to that. So that's how Zapotec is and how broad Zapotec is. So the weaving tradition in my town, it's very old. It comes like before the Spaniards, using a backstrap loom. So I just love this quote: "The life of a woman from birth to death was concerned with weaving beautiful, well-made textiles. One of her obligations was to teach their daughters to weave and spin." that was before the Spaniards. Once the Spaniards arrived, the obligation and the work changed from instead of women being weavers, then men were weavers. Nowadays, we all weave, like women weave is, we are taking it again. But in this process of weaving, how we learn, it hasn't changed. Like how we are learning from seeing how to weave, but also how we are at the same time we're learning the language. We are learning parts of the loom. We are learning everything related to weaving, but also at the same time related to the tradition or daily life in the town. So yeah, I love saying that also, like weaving, it's like my mother language, because I can really communicate with this. Well, this is he's my father, and yeah, he's always teaching us that how we can express ourselves. He's always like telling us that we can reach anyone, or we can reach other worlds through our textiles, telling our stories. But now here, I'm always trying to connect weaving and language. How, of course, they're connected, but how can I put this out there and it's like make my own statement, or the statement of my town. Like we speak not only with words, but with threads, like actual threads, and how I can read those. How can I write, and how you can read me through the threads. And in this goes like with all the culture, all what we live every day in our town, like going to the market to get our daily food, going to the celebrations, like the celebrations of the town itself, like even a birthday, how we celebrate a birthday, like the meaning of the candles, the meaning of the flowers, everything, how we do that. And nowadays with the pandemic, we've been kind of losing all of that, because, well, at the very beginning of the pandemic, we couldn't like celebrate. We couldn't celebrate birthdays, we couldn't celebrate death, because we do celebrate death somehow. Like we celebrate the life of someone when passing away, even though it's a sad part, but it's also something to celebrate with our own rituals. So here, how we weave our rose, how we weave our word, how we weave our life, and how are we changing our ways to learn and relearn and share the traditions and culture, and being very respectful of who we are and what we want to show to the world, because we've been very exposed these days, like with the pandemic, like we start seeing like more and more people in the town are using social media, especially social media, which is like the thing that goes like this, and a picture Instagram, a picture Facebook, and then you start like saying something. And then we start like many times, because social media works like that, very, very fast. Sometimes we don't stop and we don't think that what we are sharing, why we are sharing it, and how exposed we are by sharing it. And that's right now the conversation, how exposed we are, how afraid a lot of people are of being exposed and saying, hey, if I put this out there and zillions of people see it, they are gonna steal my part of me. They're gonna steal my way of life. They're gonna steal my way of my custom. So we, like indigenous people, like small people, like minority languages, minority people, we still have like this kind of chip of that we've been, like things from us have been stolen that and used by someone else that do not belong to the community. And that's exactly how we Zapotec people, like in this case, weavers, Zapotec people, how can we like really own our weavings, our traditions, and how sure we are like to say, hey, like being very conscious that of course we're gonna be exposed by sharing this online, but if I do not do it, maybe someone else that it's not from the community is gonna do it. And then they're like kind of romanticizing my culture. And that's the thing here. Also, like how can we have a conversation and how can we have sources to support ourselves without like just like giving like, yeah, someone come to my town because Teotitlán del Valle is a town of weavers and it's very famous and lots of people come to my town from all over the world, and I'm giving them all this information and I'm telling them my story. I'm telling them that process of how I weave a rug, how I speak to the thread, how I speak to the yarn, how I speak to the mountains when I go and get my flowers for my dye. I need to say, for me and for in my family, like we're very conscious of that we need to teach and educate people into that so they can understand who we are and the process we're going through to get to a final piece, for example. And at the same time, as we are being very exposed in social media and especially right now, like it's going very crazy with Instagram, for example, how people in the town are seeing us in the town, how we see our own people in the town, everybody trying to do their own thing and surviving at the end. It's like a survival, saying, this is my family, this is what I do, this is my town, this is my ritual, this is, everybody does it differently. And again, we always are in the constant fear of someone in the other side of the world with more possibilities in terms of, I don't know, let's say a big enterprise, a big factory will see it and will take it, and it has happened. So we need to be very clear in our when we Zapotec people, when we put things out there so people can understand us, so people can see us, is because we're again living today, saying this is my work, this is the meaning for me, this is my tradition, and this is how it's been. We've been doing it for hundreds of years, and since right now, to reach more people, to reach other worlds, to reach other cultures, we have all these social media. I'm putting it here because I want you to know me and because I want you to understand how and why I exist. And also, I think we still need lots of, in the world, humans, we still need to be very, very, how do you say, conscious and very human to understand the processes and the resistance that indigenous peoples and minorities we've been going through. Everything of this is, of course, is new for everybody, but for us especially, it's a new way to learn ourselves, our language. Like, I love these pictures that I put here because these are like the old ladies from my town seeing themselves in a cultural center that we have now in Teotitlán. We see letters, we see words that I'm sure they cannot read, but they're seeing themselves there. And it's a different way to see us for ourselves too. Like, going to this exhibition in these cultural centers, like portraying ourselves like this is today. Of course, we have like old pictures showing us how our grandparents were, but now how we are seeing each other like in the town nowadays. And I just like think sometimes, like, for example, this picture is they are seeing themselves in an exhibit that it's there, they can touch it, kind of. They can touch the wall, they can touch the paper there. And that's new for them. But for me, for younger generations, that it's old, because we're seeing ourselves through a screen. And I'm seeing these ladies through a picture that I took with a camera. So it's just like these layers of history, these layers of how we are relearning to see ourselves and to learn from our past and our present and our traditions. And in the other picture, for example, Teotitlán also is well known because we have candles, carved candles and beautiful candles. And we know we can go to the house of a family that make candles, and we can go buy our candles, and we've seen how they make the candles. But for example, reading and seeing pictures of what we live, it's very different. It's a different way to again, to learn what we do in our own town. So I just like going through these layers and layers of or elder people, how they're living these days, or language or culture through these spaces, and how the younger generations, we are trying to generate more content or generate sources that they can be out there for our own people, but also whoever is like browsing or going into online and seeing, trying to find the world outside. So that's a little bit of the reflection here. And then for those that don't know the work that I've been doing with this, like how I relate everything, my weaving, my work, my language. I've been working with with the talking dictionary, and then with the talking dictionary, it's an online talking dictionary. But just right before the pandemic, I started, well, with the team in Haverford, we started doing these videos to show culture, to show the process in a different way, and listen to stories. And can you see that? So again, my direct source always are my parents in the weaving. I always want to make them part of my work.
Federico Chavez Sosa. Na benji. Na regunya. Chin ni belong. Mada tekonde chila yin la. Kana greg. Is okay do. Na chin do mood parlacting. Bueno, chiquiti ich mood. Arrobo chamen. Chingi sila rakie tu la chingi still congas still leker tracking mode mada kana para changing con dunia beche kan sin taskom tracking gani.
So in this one here, I just love this because that's the talk or the discourse that we have while we are kids. When I was a kid, and how my father will teach me or will teach us, and how people teach their kids where the wool come from, why the color is like that. So it's just like it's not like going to school and say, hey, if you mix this color, like this color because of the rain or whatever, like we don't have that, like lots of that science, like academic science. It's very natural in terms of my father is saying here, okay, I'm doing this bobbin in this color because I'm gonna weave a greca, and this color comes from mixing the white wool with the brown wool. So he's giving us there like something that I really didn't know. Of course, at some point I didn't know that. And like if a kid sees this, it's just like something that a kid will see, someone that they'll say, hey, how can we have a gray sheep? why we have a gray sheep, and then he explains us how we can have a gray sheep. Then in a different.
Con Grammarly puedes escribir en inglés rápido y confiadamente.
Sorry for
Controla
that.
tus correos.
So this is just like a traditional music of Teotitlán in a town during the main celebration. And here the idea is also like combining these two worlds. Like we see two, three worlds. We see the church, which was built by Spaniards. It's a 16th century church. Those stones that you see, like pieces, like those little pieces, those are stones that were taken from the Zapotec temple and were incrustated there. So you can still see like the grecas, the motifs, the patterns, old patterns that we use to make the rugs. And then the music that for us is just like sacred. But once we learn more about the music, it's also like music that were brought by Spaniards, but now we own them as Zapotec, and it's just like very Zapotec for us. It's very, not even Oaxaca, not even Mexico, it's Zapotec, is from here, is from Teotitlán, is for our celebration. So it's also like showing or part of our traditions. And with that, I want to show you another part of our celebrations. Can someone tell me about my time?
Well, ideally, we calculated 45 minutes, which are almost over.
Okay.
But feel free to,
yeah, just like
show us something else, and then we can have a conversation and questions after that.
Yeah. I had it here and I closed the window. Here. So where are we here? Okay. So here, this is another part of our being Zapotec, which is a little bit interesting for me and for a lot of people. It's the dance of the feathers, which is a representation of the Spaniard conquest. And Zapotec people from Teotitlán representing Montezuma and the warriors and like the Aztec people. So in my intention of understanding why are we doing this big celebration of the conquest, why are we dancing the conquest proudly, like this war proudly. So it has a very deep meaning in the town, not only because, not necessarily of what it represents per se, but the meaning of each parts, details of the how people, how men wear their dancer's outfit, the coins that they use. Why do they use those coins, old coins representing the before and now, before the Spaniards, now the Spaniards, like the rattle. What's the sound of the rattle? The rattle the sound of the rattle represents the snake, invoking Quetzalcoatl, invoking or ancient or gods, not our ancient gods. They're still our gods because we still believe on them. In our speech, of course, we have many gods still. So this one, for example.
Bison.
So bison. So in this and still here. So this is a little bit of the dance of the feathers, and the importance of this, as I said, like, I was like, why are we celebrating this with our town with a representation of the conquest? But really is like the dancers, like people there have like wishes, make wishes with this. And they're dancing for the rain, then they're dancing and asking to our rain god, the water. They're dancing for the for a good corn, like, so they're dancing for the earth as well. They're dancing for good weather, like not harmful. You know, like here in Oaxaca, we have like, we're located in a earthquake zone. So we dance for those things, and we go and see and pray with them for those things. So it's also like a way to understand again our culture and our being in, or remembering who we are and who are like above us, and the gods, again, nature, like how we speak with nature at the end. So a little bit of that, it's what I've been doing, and unfortunately, because of the pandemic, many things are on standby right now, but by the end of this year or next year, this is gonna grow more to show you more of what we do, how we are, and so you can, like, mainly for us too is like understand it, enjoy it, and live it. So we can start with conversations, questions right now, I guess.
Thank you, Janet. That was super interesting. Thanks for sharing with us this huge wealth of indigenous knowledge. I'm sure that there are a lot of questions. I saw somebody raised a hand. Barbara, would you like to say something, ask something?
Yeah, I want to ask a question. Oh, I want to ask many, many questions. And I want to thank Janet. Thank you so much, Janet, for doing this for us today. Here's one of the many questions I have. You talked about the linguistic divergence in the community and how that has separated. And I was wondering whether as the textile making is also a type of language that comes from your parents, I was wondering if in each family you can distinguish this difference in language too, this dialect, but in the textiles. So I was wondering if this was even something that you have thought about.
Yes, like I mean, yes and no. Teotitlán del Valle, it's a town of a little bit more of 6,000 people, from which like 2,000 families are weavers. So that makes the entire town a town of weavers. But yeah, there are like, we can distinguish some families, some speeches out there through their textiles, through the colors as well. Like we, by even with towns, because there are in the area where I live, we are 3 towns that are weavers. Teotitlán del Valle, San Miguel del Valle, and Santa Ana del Valle. Teotitlán del Valle is the biggest one. So, and it's the most, the town that is more recognized by its weaving. But of course, if we see in Teotitlan, everybody in Teotitlan, if you put us like a rock from Teotitlan, a rock from Santa Ana, and a rock from San Miguel del Valle, we're gonna know which one is which. You probably will not, but we definitely will see who is who there. And yeah, and the nice thing of weaving and being a weaver and living a weaver's town is that we can read ourselves. We can read if a rug is sad, if it's celebrating something, and everybody will read it differently. Maybe for me, it's gonna be that it's celebrating something because it has a greca in a specific color, or it has a butterfly, you know. So everybody does. We can read it differently, but yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
So, sorry, Janet, I'm very curious about the colors and the patterns. So is there a specific, I mean, you say that there are different styles and these styles have meaning. So is there a specific meaning associated with specific colors or patterns, or is more the combination of these?
Yeah, I mean, mostly in patterns. Like, let's see if I can find here. Yeah, like we have, I think I saw one here. Yeah, it for example, in here in Oaxaca, we have archaeological sites right now, but they used to be the temples, the big Zapotec cities. And we have those patterns there. So the greca, for example, is a pattern that represents life and death. Mm. So is the deep unknown, the mystery of life. And I'm trying to find the greca here, and I don't see it. But here, I don't see the greca here, but I do see a, let me share my screen with you. It's this one. So here in this one, in this rock here, for example, that was a rock that my father wove. And this here, this diamond here, it's, we call it Zapotec diamond, but in real is the eye of God. But it's not, of course, it's not a Christian God, because we do have lots of God. So it can be, depending on what is inside of the diamond, if it's a butterfly, then it's like the change of life, the God that changes life. If it's the rain, then is the God of abundance. So we have different patterns, and we can weave them differently. We do not have to stick with the traditional commercial thing that it's repeated and repeated and repeated. It's always different. So that's something that my parents had taught us, and which I love, because it's not static. It's not like, it's just like, as they said, it's just like your life. Right now you're here and you're living this part of your life, you're having this experience. So how can you tell us that in the weaving you're doing? So everybody in every weaver will have their own interpretation for each pattern. Probably, for example, these butterflies here, oh, it's 3 butterflies, it's nice, it's just like, they're just butterflies. But this is a rug that my mom wove, and she has it in her house. And so she wove us, me and my brothers. So that one is a very special piece for her. Like, she is just like, you're just like butterflies. You flew and you're doing your thing, and you're not like, you're here and there. So it's the meaning you give to the route. So here, for example, probably my mom could wove a greca or a snail, and then she'll say they're my children, for example. But it's just like every family have their own way to tell their lives. Mm-hmm.
Right. So I see now why you mentioned the fear of the community, that these patterns and colors might be kind of stolen and appropriated. But I was wondering whether, since there is this symbolic association and these hidden meanings, I mean, I guess this indigenous knowledge that is hidden inside these representations is also more difficult to steal, because if you don't know the meaning, if you don't know how to combine and how to communicate with them, how can you steal that? But yet you mentioned that there have been instances of appropriation from companies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, could you maybe give us more details about that?
Yeah.
I'm curious to know.
Yeah, so right now, I think it's going a little bit worse, because we are all exposed through social media mainly. But yeah, there's been, and not only Teotitlán, but many towns, many communities here in Mexico have been suffering of cultural appropriation by big companies, big designers. And what happens there, it's not necessary. Well, of course, they take it, and for many of us, each pattern have a very strong meaning for the family or the community. We're saying something with those. So like reproducing them in a way that does not go with a ritual while making them, or making them in a big mess, is just like taking all the value of it, like not recognizing the meaning of the real meaning of it and how it is made, like, and why, like step by step, why I need to, like, when I go to get my wool with the ladies, how's like how the ladies from there, how the ladies treat their sheep to get the wool, how how we talk, how we speak with the thread, how I talk to it, how I go to the mountains and speak to the mountain and ask the mountain, please take care all, like put away all your wild animals while I'm walking here through your path. Like how I have that connection, all that. It's not only just like weaving something and saying, hey, this is it's a nice rug and I'm gonna sell it and it's my way of supporting my life. Yes, it is, of course, but then there's a behind, there's a process, there's a ritual, there's a meaning, there's a legacy from the family. And we've been suffering a lot of that, like if it's made by our hands, Zapotec hands, Mayan hands, Triqui hands, Mixtec hands, then it should be less, as if it was made by a big company or designer, or it should like cost less. So it's like a struggle all the time, like why my work or why me is has to be less valued by the world outside than the one that is still in it, you know? So it's a constant resistance here. And that's why many of us still are afraid of showing not only the rugs, but because it has happened as before, like stealing it. What if I show the people my ritual? They are gonna take it, and they do at the end, like to commercialize it to as a way of capitalism. So yeah, but that's why we need to be very conscious and starting from us, like why I want to show you this, why I want you to know my process, why I want you to know the meaning that it has for me. So then you can value it, so you can respect not only the work, but the culture, because you're seeing it, you're understanding it, you're learning about the process and all what it takes to be here, or to have like a final piece. I don't know if I'm clear with the answer.
Yeah, no, that's very clear to me at least. Are there any other questions or comments? Does anybody want to say anything?
If no one else wants to say anything, I'll ask something else.
Okay, go ahead.
I was very interested also in how you presented the oral or practical conveying of knowledge, this lore that your father gave you about the colors, and that is so interesting, you know, as opposed to a scientific process. Oh, do it like this. This is the chemical way, and I find that very well, very appealing. I don't do any weaving, I'm afraid. I will have to come to a workshop to learn. But I started to knit a few years ago, and one of the things I have done is, of course, I went to do some like color workshops to dye wool, but people don't use natural products. They want to use chemicals, and that is not the same. So I was very interested in this idea of the lore being passed orally from one generation to the next. So do you want to expand a little bit more on that?
Yeah, and well, that's a struggle that everywhere right now, like chemical dyes are everywhere and they're very harmful. So in the family, we've been working with natural dyes 100%. And it's to understand, as I said, it's to understand the flower, the insect, the plant, know the family who's working their process to make the indigo dye, everything. So one of the things that that we take into account in nature, that's why we say like our work is very connected with nature, is that a leaf, for example, we sometimes collect leaves. It's just like, look, the shape, the texture, the color, there's no fail here. This is like perfection. Like that's one of the bases. Like if you want to weave something and you don't know what colors go together and you don't know what colors explain something, like look around, leaves, flowers. A leaf can have like strings like a river. So you're seeing a river on a leaf, then you see probably a ladybug next to it, then you see life, and then you start like reading nature like that. It's not like a leaf with lines, it's a leaf with a river. It's a leaf with a living something there. It's a flower not only with a scent, but it's a memory. That scent brings you a memory. That scent takes you to a moment, takes you. So it's all of that. So it's a way to be aware of all the environment, all where in the town, where in your own place you are standing on that moment. So probably sometimes we're like eating a pomegranate, for example. Pomegranate is another of our dyes. We're eating a pomegranate and we're hearing the bells in the church. In our church, we have, if it's a bell that it's announcing a celebration, if it's giving us the time, if it's announcing that someone passed away, if it was a woman, if it was a man. So all of that. So we have all that information there that many times we do not are aware of it. But we are learning to do that, and then how that can be woven on a rug and then explain and then like say, hey, that's why it's very all that cultural appropriation. It's just like something really, really bad because they're taking all that from us and then they're giving you a product without that story or that history there. They do not have the reason there. It's just like production probably. We're losing all that world because like, I mean, all our world, all the Zapotec, all the sound, all the bells, everything when we're in the town, when we're anywhere, everything comes first in the language we speak first before it's translated to anything. So yeah, I think that's how we see color. It's more than color. It's more than a leaf. It's more than a sound, it's more than a scent, it's more than a flavor. It's life, it's culture, is the story, the history that we're writing and weaving.
That's beautiful, actually. I love it. It's so beautiful how you express it. Thank you so much.
That's fascinating. And I was wondering, you mentioned social media and the fear, no, of using social media and expose the work. And I was wondering, yeah, what's your feeling in terms of awareness in the community? Because I mean, I guess, yeah, the younger generations have no problems with that, but what about your parents, your grandparents, and the older generations? Do they also fear the social media, and do they engage with social media when it comes to weaving products?
Yeah, there's a constant fear all the time by everybody. It's like that's constant. That's always that idea or that experience that it's gonna be stolen. If I put it there, it's gonna be stolen because of the experience through the time it has happened.
Right.
But we also reflecting on that, if it's mine, if I do it, if it's my own story, if it's my own culture, and I'm not capable because to share it outside because I'm afraid of it, then am I gonna keep allowing someone else from somewhere else taking it from me and saying and telling my, like, being told by someone else that does not belong to the culture, to, like, being taken like that? Like, we need, like, to be conscious as well to, okay, if I don't say my story, if I don't share my culture as Zapotec, as like the real thing, let's say, someone else is gonna say it in their own discourse, and it's gonna be like probably not 100% true. And again, we go back to the misinformation and the romanticization of our lives, our culture. So we, like, need to, like, take on social media and start doing it, and trying also to do it in a way, respectful way, to ourselves, to our people, and to the outside, like saying, okay, this is us, and then I'm gonna show you here. So, like, being friendly with ourselves and the outside. But definitely there's a constant fear all the time. And also, like, I mean, especially I think Twitter, it's very mean sometimes, like, so we need to be very conscious of that too. Like, once we expose ourselves, we start conversation, and it can be like a sword of double sharp sword, you know, like, can be good for the community, but at the same time I can be like damaging something probably, or someone is gonna take it in a wrong way, which happens with everything in any language, in any topic. So, but I think with indigenous cultures, it's a little bit more still fragile in that case, because we're still trying to speak out loud there and speak for ourselves.
I think you're already doing a great job because you're representing your language online. So you have made this beautiful dictionary. I was looking at it earlier today. It's super beautiful. I've put the link in the chat for those people that are not familiar with it, and somebody also posted your paper so we can learn even more about your work. Are there any other questions or comments?
I just follow up on some of the recent points just about the lack of, the trust, the distrust, and fear. And so I know the Talking Dictionary is hosted at Swarthmore, and I know that. So I guess I'm just wondering, like, how you establish that trust and work across these sectors with the local community and an academic institution that's not even in that region or even in Mexico, and that working with Twitter or some of the videos that are hosted on YouTube, these big kind of corporate platforms. And so I'm just wondering if you're working with local museums or institutions, or how you, or with the Talking Dictionary Project, how that comes about and how you establish that trust, and thinking about kind of the long-term life of those digital projects, and ensuring that they remain available and in a way that honors the community.
Yeah, thank you for the question. That's a very good question that I hope I have an answer for that. It's been a long process to get and to understand how to do the work and who can be in charge of the work to do it. First of all, yes, the Talking Dictionary is sponsored by Swarthmore Haverford College. They have the platform. I do not have to pay for the maintenance of the Talking Dictionary. I do not have to, if the platform is having a technical problem, I'm not in charge of fixing it or paying for to be fixed, which is really good for me, because then I just need to take care of recording words and doing the work in the town. So that was something that I had to be very clear at the beginning when I started the Talking Dictionary. It was like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, I want to do this, but I want it to be for the community, owned by the community, and the community will decide what they want to see, what they want to hear. And that's always the my flag with the Talking Dictionary. And the Talking Dictionary, like that, it's me behind that, but I haven't made it mine like that. At the very beginning, I said, okay, I want community. I want people. I want the people from the town that is gonna use it, learn from it, and record for it if they want to, if they're wanting to do that. So all the decisions for the Talking Dictionary, the words, the workshops, working with the people in the town, all of them have been my own decisions. Nobody in Haverford make any decision. They respect the dictionary. If you want to go to Teotitlán for 1 week and record the dance of the feathers and just sit there for 5 hours and record everything because you think that's important, then let's do it. If you want to go and record 5, 6, 7 hours of weaving and it's just repeated and repeated, just do it. It doesn't happen like that, but it's just like for you to an idea, like I'm allowed to do that. Like I'm the one behind the dictionary, and I'm the one that it's myself going in the town, talking with the people, interviewing the people, explaining them if they want to be part of the dictionary or not. And then like Haberford and Professor Brooke, which is the professor that I've been working with for many years now. She's very supporting in that, and she knows the struggles that we have, like why someone from outside will come and save the language and will show the language. We start like to start like get rid a little bit of the image of the person from outside coming into the town to save those poor people. So it's just like now, like I said that from the beginning, if I'm gonna do it, it's going to be me talking to my people. And during the process, it was very difficult because I mean, it's a dictionary is endless. And I was just like at the very beginning learning how to do it, like the purpose of it. And there was a time where I said, okay, no, I mean, this is not gonna work because who's gonna use it anyways? Like people that are not Zapotec speakers, like people from other parts of the world. And then while the people in my town, Zapotec speakers, are like not knowing it or not using it. And it's just like, like when some things meant to be, they're meant to be. So I was in that line of wanting not to do it anymore. And someone came and said, oh, did you know about this dictionary that we have in our town? And it's a very cool dictionary. You should use it. You should like read it. And then I started learning from people living in the US, from my town and other towns, learning about this dictionary. And then I was like, okay, it has a purpose. People are really using it. And young people are just like wanting to know more about it. And they're really using it. It's a tool, educational tool. So then I realized that I like did a good job, like doing the dictionary and then being the head of it and talking with the community. You will never see my name like identities here, because in the dictionary you'll see like there are many speakers. It's not, at the beginning it was only me, but now I've been collaborating with more than 30 speakers in the town, and I literally go to their houses, like, about this dictionary in the street, literally like walking in the street, in the market, and talking with them. Sometimes, like many times, I have my list of 20 words. Let's record 20 words. But then it's just like at the end, we only record 2 or 3 because one word takes to an entire story and explanation, and someone else is passing by and stop by because they're here. And then there's that, like, it's more like a community that I've been able to like put together for the dictionary. And like one word is 1 hour of a educational, meaningful story. I always learn something. So yeah, I do not have any, I haven't had any problem, any trouble with Haberford, with any of the professors or the students that I have worked with, because they always have told me like, you're the one from the community, you're the one that know what's best for your community. So everything is made in a very, very respectful way in both sides, like me with my community, like, and me with the academics. Like it's like it's been a very supportive thing, and it's something that I've been always been fighting for. Like, hey, if you're gonna do something in the town with the language with this, but then you have to give back to the town, and in a meaningful way and a useful way. Like, it's not like, oh, I did this in the town and then here's like a box of 20 colors for your kids. No, it's just like something really utilitarian, you know, like really that will grow our knowledge. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I ask a question, if that's fine?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, Janet, thanks for your talk, and thanks for all the work you do in your community. Really fascinating. I wonder if you could speak to the possibilities of replicating what you do in other contexts. I don't know, for instance, if you have some kind of documentation for the talking dictionary that could be, say, applied in another context where people may be interested in the kind of linguistic activism you do. Yeah, that's just my question, but thanks for your talk.
Thank you. Well, as I said, always, I think one of the biggest recommendation for anyone doing this kind of work from a town or someone that's going to a place to work with the community, it's always that like think that it's gonna be useful for the community. And in terms of linguistics, for example, there have been many academics, linguists going and working with many languages. They're not from there. They take the work, they do everything. They have their informants to get like an academic paper for them. But then what do you give to the community? So how can you translate all the technical linguistics to the person who speaks the language and does not know anything about linguistics? And that has happened a lot to me. Like, we still do not have a standardized writing system in my variant of Zapotec. So every time I go with the town, every time that I'm working with the speakers, I always hand them the orthography or the alphabet that I'm working with, so they can have and they can understand it. Like, and I do like a quick explanation. This is how I'm writing right now. This is like my writing, so you can like understand. And if you want to try to write, if you don't, you can use this. That's one. And the other one, it's not imposing things. Like, it's not like, hey, this is what I'm using to write, and now and on this is the only way you'll have to write. No, this is what I have, and if it's useful for you, please help yourself. If not, if you have your own writing system, go ahead. Like, being very respectful in that way. Always like thinking not in a academic technical way with the community. It's always what's gonna help them, how are they gonna be reflected in anything you're doing. Like if I tweet something, how am I reflecting me, and how can someone from a different town or my town can reflect themselves in what I'm saying in the dictionary? Are they seeing themselves there? So it's like the real thing. It's again not romanticizing the content. It's that it's not just like, oh, the dance of the feathers, how beautiful, how colorful. Oh no, like what are the layers of that? What are the meaning of that? So it's just like try to break every word, everything, so you can bring a meaning and say, okay, this is, I'm reflecting you, I'm doing something for you. Yes, you're helping me for my academic purpose, but then what my academic purpose is helping your community usefully, like seriously, like in many towns, it's just like people do not write their languages. People do not read in their languages, because we lost that part. It's not that it does not exist. It exists, but we lost it in time, in political issues, everything. It has been lost. So like I'll say, like, one of the biggest recommendations, do something that will give back to the community. Useful thing. I mean, for me, probably it was like, I was very lucky to meet this professor, and I mean, it was just like, when you say, when it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Like it was one chance in millions, and I was the one that was just like, life put that professor in front of me one day in Oaxaca, when I was just like admiring her online. So it was like that. It was just like, wait. So yeah, I think it's just like, I don't know, probably in my case, it was merely luck. And I was in the way of doing, in the path of doing it. And just like, I don't know, which God said, hey, here's for you to keep developing what you're doing. And I mean, it's I mean, if you as academics have the chance to change the life of someone in the world, in an indigenous language, culture, whatever, give them the power of, give them the lead for their community. Because there are many people like me looking for opportunities to make a change in their community. So the one that with the knowledge, in the power, like in the higher academic level, we all are like this little being changers of another being life change. I don't know. I like to think it like that. So if you're in the position to help in a useful way and be respectful with the community you're working with.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very inspiring. I think we should close now our first conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. James or Barbara, are there any announcements for next one, or we will I don't know, we will know later about the second meeting and we will publish it online, or yeah?
But just perhaps to say that we will be having Benito Tulip Nests. Is
Okay.
from Sadila in South Africa. The African digital humanities scene is rapidly growing, although I confess the South African context is a bit different. And Sadila is one digital organization and community in South Africa that does some really engaging work. So we are having somebody from that context come also talk about their research. Like Barbara said, the goal of all of this is also to make visible the interesting and fascinating work people are doing all over the world, especially beyond the global north. So thank you for joining us, and I'll return things back to Sarah or Barbara to wrap up.
Thank you. Barbara, would you like to say something?
I just would like to thank everybody for being here, to all my colleagues in GoDH for their participation, their organization, all what they contribute to, and of course to Janet. Your work is fascinating. I'm so glad that you can do this for the future, for the present, but also for the future. And please let's thank her. Very big round of applause. Also virtual if you want, so you can use the, the little icon too. Well, thank you for being here today with us. It's really appreciated. And Sarah, good job moderating. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time. I know we all have things to do, and I really appreciate you like taking the time to open the space, to be here, and to talk with me, and to like start new conversations and new reflections. And I hope to see you in person sometime in the future. And I'm sure we're gonna meet at some point, because we're like in the same path, I said. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.
I think we can stop the recording now.